Okay, so we make the, if we're okay here, we'll make the link with what we used to be known as a group, I think, and what I'm desperate not to be known as really anymore. The origins of where some of this stuff started, and what would have been in a different set of circumstances, a big event at the end of the drain spotting project, unfortunately, which I know people know a little about. The long and short is obviously what we're seeing here last June, as a result of Heritage Open Days events that I've done for the last 5 years, and Heritage Open Days is parent organisations are the European Heritage Days. We got put forward as one of the stories of the year, and I think there was 100 or so submitted, and it was great. We got shortlisted. We got our story put on the EU site, the European Heritage Day site, which was great, alongside things from all the other countries in Europe. And we went forward. You know, we had the opportunity to go forward in an award, the award scheme that I didn't really know much about before, but we and drain spotting was one of the 10 European Heritage Days stories or storyteller of the year prize winners last June, and it was a fantastic. It was just great. We were jointly the first UK winners of an award that's been going for just 3 years, I think. But us and another project were the first UK winners. And unfortunately, it would have been a great opportunity, including work in Europe and some exchange work with other projects. It would have involved going to the European Parliament, speaking about what we do as a group to the European Parliament Heritage session in about a year ago now. It was last November, wasn't it? Which obviously didn't happen, and hopefully it will be able to happen at some point. I hope they haven't completely forgotten about us, because it would be fantastic to do that. But what we did get was 6 months funded work, employing me for a couple of days a week, and the plan was that with an app, with a website, and with various things at our disposal, we were going to go out with groups in different areas of the city and try to do a full survey of Sheffield's streets. And unfortunately, that didn't happen because of the meeting up rules early last year. So what it did mean is that I spent 8 months in the end, because I did extend it between October last year and May or June this year, going out and press ganging one other person at a time to spend whole days visiting different parts of the city. So I pretty much did walk the streets of Sheffield, even if I didn't do it in with as many people or in quite a organised fashion as would have happened with more, more things being allowed. But this was the story as it appeared on the European Heritage Days site. So that's the first paragraph. The full version is still online. The European Heritage Days drain spotting, a European story made in Sheffield, the drain spotting walk. And this is the introduction of what we all know I'd like to do, and the encouragement of other people to be able to do the same wherever they live. There was a bit of a European link here in that we were able to say there are streets in Europe or across Europe that have Sheffield names and Sheffield makers on their pavements. Lisbon, amongst others, has Sheffield on its tram tracks. It's in the city, and it's not the only one as well. So that was the description of it. And apart from the frustrating how much of the stuff couldn't happen, which was which is just obviously as frustrating as it, that's just the way it was. We did end up getting out in small numbers. This is a couple of our people having a whale of a time in Crooks, and we discovered the only known example of 3 different generations of drain covers next to each other, because there's a street there in Crooks which had a mid-20th century, a turn of the 20th century, and a mid-19th century drain cover all next to each other in a way. Roger and our friend Christine there looking at that. Very limited. Only towards the very end were we allowed, under the rule of 6, to get out in that small group. The plan was to engage, and a lot of the funding was to engage groups, and it would have been great to have local history groups, school kids, school parties going out and just taking groups of people like we do at Heritage Open Days, 30, 40, 50 people going out and getting a survey of their area. And that unfortunately wasn't able to happen. That was one of the big losses of the project. So the project itself found ultimately one of the things I didn't know when I started out was whether I had found everything or not, and whether 7 or 8 years of me being a hobbyist and looking at these things, how much had I touched the surface? Was there loads more to find? Had I pretty much found everything? I didn't know. And basically I had found what was there to be found. I didn't find much new. I did add to existing finds, but it was quite pleasing. It was no lose either way. It was quite nice to realise I was already on top of pretty much what there is out there, just by following my nose really and using instinct over the years. But we did find three additional extremely rare things which I wouldn't have found without the time that I had to go out and do it. This one here is not easy to make out. It just about says Sheffield at the top and highways at the bottom. This is only the second known example of one of these. There was one previous one on the other side of the city, and we found this one on an old road, Manor Lane, outside an old farm building. So it was great timing wise. It's where you'd expect to find something like this. This is 1830s, 1840s. This is the Sheffield Highways Board, just predated the 1843 forming of the town council. So this is between 1831, I think it is, and 1843. And it's doubled the number of known examples from 1 to 2. So that was a moment of slight celebration for me and the colleague when we stumbled across it. Couldn't even read the lettering when I took the photograph. It was only when I put it on the computer screen later that I realised what it was, which was nice. I knew it was old, but I didn't know which old drain cover it was. So that was nice. That was an important one. We also had 2 of these previously, and we found a third one of these. So the Sheffield Telephone Exchange Electric Light Company, a company that only existed from 1888 to 1892. It's a Victorian home telephone installation. And yes, the number of known examples went up from 2 to 3, with one of these being found on Lidget Lane. And it's quite distinctive. I knew what it was as we approached it. I knew what it was from about 20 feet away. And it was another good moment. But all 3 of these finds that I'm about to say here all occurred in the last month or so. I think I've gone 6 months almost finding nothing. So there was a little run towards the end where we suddenly found some things that greatly improved my knowledge of where these things are. Very important find, very rare find, possibly the only such things in the country, Victorian telephone infrastructure still in the pavement. And this one here, the oldest thing that you find that I've ever found on the streets of Sheffield. This is a pre-Sheffield Waterworks company, which is 1830 stopcock type cover. I've only known 2 of these. This again increased from 2 to 3 the number of examples of this, and this was found in a beautiful location. This is found on a small cul-de-sac at the back of the Shrewsbury Almshouses on Norfolk Road, on just Norfolk Park side of the city, and those almshouses were built in 1825, and this is a pre-1830 because it's the Waterworks company that takes over then. So this is almost certainly dated from the building of those the almshouses. So we can be pretty tight on the well, it's between 1825 and 1830, almost certainly at 1825. And it's a great thing, just plain, just round, just with waterworks on it. The earliest, almost certainly the earliest thing that is still in the streets of Sheffield, and it's quite distinctive. Again, it's another thing I saw from the other side of the road. It was another nice moment. And they were so apart from finding out that I pretty much knew stuff that I wasn't sure if I fully knew, which was quite nice. It would have been good either way. If we'd have found loads of new stuff, it would have been great. If we had it confirmed that I was pretty much on it already, then that's good too. But to find those 3 things made it worthwhile. and I've got a pretty encyclopedic knowledge of what's out there and in which areas now, even more so than before. So yeah, that was my lockdown. That was my which worked out pretty well, really. Personally, it wasn't the worst time to be doing it. It just meant other people couldn't join in, and we couldn't travel and go to other towns and cities and other countries doing this stuff, which would have been my ideal had things been different. But I hope it can go back in the future. It's not completely done with. So the local heritage list that all this stuff is going to fit in. There's been a call recently. It's officially backed by all the councils and all the organisations. But this idea, as it describes here, to register things that aren't listed or protected at the moment. So these are things that, as Roger says, fall between the cracks. I've tried before to get English Heritage to list drain covers, the oldest drain covers, the most important ones, and they turned it down. And so this is a bit of a halfway house. This is a first level of listing, hopefully. And things like Bramwell Lane Bridge and Bridge House's footbridge site need to go on there, but also some street signs, some drain covers, some of the things that people will know, the things that are on someone's street that are maybe only known by a small number of people that pass it each day, as well as definitely, I mean, we've got any number of things as a group we can put on this list, and it would be great to make a real contribution to the local heritage list. We could easily be the biggest single contributor to the building of this list in Sheffield. And this would have been definitely one of the things to talk with the council about, because it's something that we can do. I need to start doing it, but basically start filling in the forms and saying why things are important, that I think. And an example, one of the examples from one of my walks, one of the things, just tell a little story about a street sign and why it's important. And this is one here. It's a 1890 street sign, and it's the only one of its kind basically left. There's one other, but it's in pretty poor condition. This is in great condition. It's a eye level. That's the height of it as you walk up to it. In 1890, Sheffield rationalised its street names, and it got rid of prefixes, upper and lower and east and west and the like. So they simplified some road names. There was only 30 odd, I think, roads that were affected, and they just joined them up. They joined them up into one long road instead of having them broken up into upper and lower and etc. And to do that, they made these street signs, which are just fantastic. They're either white on black or black on white. We'll see in a minute, and they are with those hands pointing on either side, and those hands are carved as well. They're not flat, they're 3D. It's a fantastic sign. And the thing they're saying there is it's now Graham Road on both sides of the junction instead of upper on one side and lower on the other side. It's just a fantastic thing, and it made there were probably 100, maybe 200 at a push at the time, because there was a small number of roads. I'm guessing there was a few on each road. There's only these couple of examples left, but just a superb example of what they used to do with these things in Victorian times. And this is one of only two that's left, and the only one in good condition. And a few. So this is interesting. This is a road that's no longer there. This was in the area behind the station. That's now completely, there's no roads there at all now. For people that know it, this is pretty much on the site of the open air amphitheatre that's on the bank behind the railway station. And as you can see, on the left hand side on the pub building, Norwich Street, and it's one of those signs. It's the opposite. It's white lettering on black instead of black on white, like the Graham Road one. But this is exactly the same as one of those signs with the hands on both sides. So I've looked up on Picture Sheffield, and I found 7 or 8 of these by looking at roads that are no longer there, or that the street sign isn't there, and found that those street signs used to be there. They're not only, in this case, the street was gone as well as the sign, but Norwich Street again had an upper and lower, and then was made just into one. So I found several proofs that they almost certainly were on all of those roads. And just not far from me here, Chipping House Road, this sign has gone in redevelopment in the last 3 years or so. It's on the side of a shop, and it's changed use, and that sign has gone. you know, the people have done up the building and it's been skipped presumably. And so this was an example. This used to be Upper and Lower Chipping House Road, and so gone. So that's an example. There were probably 100 or more of these. There are now just 2, one of which in good condition, and we've lost one just in recent years too. So that's it looks like a street sign. It's just a street sign. It goes when development happens, but it was extremely rare. And when that last one is left at Graham Road, I'd hope obviously similar doesn't happen to that. And hopefully that'll be the first stage to just make people aware that this is not just an ordinary street sign. It's extremely rare and really quite well, I think a very attractive thing as well. So yeah, that's just, you know, there used to be more of them. Even in recent years, there was at least one other, and now we're just down to where we are. So it's things like that, apart from things like Bramwell Lane Bridge. So I'm happy to treat equally on the listing 100-metre long road bridges with street signs and drain covers, etc. So it's a bit of that's a case study of what I hope we can do with the listing, with the local listing. So there we go. That was that.